Nothing else is indicating that 73K is our peak for this cycle.
Today, I interviewed George of CryptosRUs.
No, everything else is indicating that we have just really begun the parabolic stage.
As he shares his Bitcoin and crypto outlook for the remainder of 2024.
We could go from 60,000 to 100,000 by the end of the year. And then we have still a full year left.
Also, I asked George what could go wrong.
So my fear is that's what Gary is planning on doing.
And watch today's whole video. We talk altcoins and more. If I gave you $1,000, you could only invest in AI altcoins. Click the like button right now if you appreciate these conversations, and let's start. Bitcoin topped out, around 73,000, has been consolidating for weeks. What's your outlook for crypto for the second half of this year?
Well, I'm very bullish. You know me, I'm always bullish. But recently when we fell down to 56 and it got a little scary because a lot of analysts started saying that, hey, it's natural for Bitcoin to take a breather, but also go down to as low as like 52,000 before bouncing back up. And we were around 56, 57. It didn't seem like that was likely. But, I kind of looked at it and thought about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, Bitcoin has come up so much within such a short amount of time. We need a breather. It's okay. We have seen previous cycles where Bitcoin has fallen 20, 25, 30, 35%. And that was that. It was just a breather consolidation point, and then it continued higher. And we know we're after the halving event. This is the parabolic bull stage right now for Bitcoin. So for a second half, I think one of two things. One is we either go sideways a little bit longer, and I've drawn out like 63.7, 63.8 is like an important support / resistance level. So I anticipate if we are going to go sideways, we'll probably go hover right around there, up or down by a few thousand points, and go maybe until September, and that's when we start moving again. Or we just start moving. We just start going higher. Because ETFs, they're starting to have a lot of inflows. The institutions and banks and companies, they're starting to FOMO in once again. So that negates everything. I've always said, when there's FOMO, it just trumps what the charts say, what the TAs say. When there's billions and billions of dollars coming into the market, Bitcoin's going to go upwards, right? So I think it's one of two scenarios.
What are the odds in your mind that Bitcoin has already topped for the year? 73 was the top.
Oh, 0%. I have the only theory that someone has pointed out recently was I forgot the guy who created it, but it's like a 5.3 theory. And it was looking at, I guess, the increase in gain, and he divided by a certain number. And somehow it came out to be about 73, 74,000. That's the only theory I've heard from anyone that says, yeah, we may have topped out. But everything else I'm looking at, and I'm sure you guys are too, all the metrics that measure tops and bottoms, and whether we're in a parabolic stage or not, or Fibonacci levels, or whatever the case may be, nothing else is indicating that 73K is our peak for this cycle. No, everything else is indicating that we have just really begun the parabolic stage, and this 4-year cycle is about to get exciting. So 0% in my mind that 73K is the top for this cycle.
I concur. Just in the sense that, for the first time ever, Bitcoin has regulatory, it's cleared the way. BlackRock is accumulating. So I don't see 73 as the top. But let me ask you this, George. Once we do surpass all-time highs, maybe that's September, maybe that's in 2 weeks. What's your updated take on how high Bitcoin could go top of cycle?
Oh, that's anyone's guess, but a lot of people have made some very bullish predictions. I've seen some people say, hey, $1 million or $3 million by 2030, not 2025. But in order for those numbers to happen, Bitcoin has to be, you would figure, at least 200,000, 300,000 by this cycle. And I do think that's accurate. I think it's not too far-fetched. Right now, we're sitting around 67,000. Once we break 73, we head to 80, 90, 100,000. I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that we're going to double from 100,000, 200,000. That doesn't seem too far-fetched anymore. But when I was calling it, and everyone, maybe some others were calling it, when Bitcoin was 20,000 heading to 200,000, that seems far-fetched. But I think once Bitcoin surpasses 100,000, just doubling from there to 200,000 doesn't seem so far-fetched. And I think that's a real possibility. I mean, it's still early this year. We're only in May. We're not even halfway through. And we know how fast Bitcoin can move. If you look at 2023, starting September, October timeframe, that's when Bitcoin went from 30,000 all the way to 70,000 within just a few months, right? And that was after months and months and months and years of crypto winter and consolidation. So certainly something like that can happen, even if we go sideways until September. We could go from 60,000 to 100,000 by the end of the year. And then we have still a full year left, or maybe a half a year left in 2025 to go higher. So I'm predicting somewhere between 150 to 250,000.
I recall back in 2017 where everybody was saying 10K for Bitcoin seemed unbelievable, but their goal, and how quickly we went past 10K and went to 19K, in a matter of weeks. So it gets crazy. This cycle, specifically, we have Gary Gensler. He seems to be adamant to kill the growth of crypto in America. If he takes the Ethereum Foundation in a lawsuit, in a legal battle, what do you think that means for altcoins for this year?
You know what? There's only one scenario I think that happens. And unfortunately, I think it has a high probability because I look at history. When did the SEC start its lawsuit against Ripple? Well, I remember that was the former chair, Jay Clayton at the time. He was the one that approved Bitcoin futures, and this was back in 2017. And I remember on his way out, he declared XRP was a security and decided to sue Ripple, literally in his last week in office, because he knew it's not his fight. Who cares? Just declare it and he's gone, right? And I don't know who put him to it. Maybe someone put him to it. So my fear is that's what Gary is planning on doing. He's already lost against Ripple, starting right now. And among all the other lawsuits, he lost to Grayscale. He's probably going to lose to Coinbase. It's just nothing but losses, right? So I don't think he wants to take on any more battles. But I think on his last week, there could be a chance he does that. And he's like, okay, he cleans his hands, he moves away, but he may declare that. Now, to answer your question, if he does, I think it's going to hold Ethereum back in a big way. I think in 2025, Ethereum may have a really lackluster year compared to the other alts out there if the lawsuit happens. There's no doubt about it. Just look at XRP's performance in the last 3 years. It's basically done nothing. It still hasn't surpassed its 2018 high when most have in 2021. So I think that may set Ethereum back. All the L2s that are supporting Ethereum, they're probably going to be held back. But I think others that are competing against Ethereum, for example, Solana or Cardano or Avalanche, they will be big winners. They will probably benefit greatly if that happens.
Right now, Cardano and Polkadot, and I'm not sure about Avalanche, they're still 85% down from all-time highs back in 2021. Is this a buying opportunity, or is it about new altcoins this cycle, or what's your take?
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of Polkadot, but they're still up there. They're like in the top 15. Same thing with Cardano, still top 10. Certainly a lot of money have gone into newer coins like the L2s, for example. And now we have L3s, and there's other newcomers in the space. So it does seem like a lot of the money has flown into others. But keep in mind, in a bull market, and this, especially at the tail end of the bull market, everything starts skyrocketing. In 2021, we saw the same thing. In 2017, we saw the same thing. We see a lot of alts that were dead, absolutely, completely dead, do a 10x within a month. And we have seen that time and time again. So I think these big L1s, I don't think they'll go anywhere. They probably, if you compare their performance versus their peers, they may lag, which kind of sucks, but I think they will, especially the big ones, will still hit their previous high and maybe even surpass it. But we'll see. But I think like Polkadot and Cardano, for example, they will definitely hit their previous high, even though they're still so far away.
Roaring Kitty has returned,
Yes.
not seen since 2021. He led the meme stock revolution back in 2020, 2021. What does his return mean for crypto?
Unfortunately, not a whole lot. And it was very short-lived. I mean, he started posting. He didn't even say he was going to start trading again. He just started posting memes. And it caused this big short squeeze to happen in Wall Street, but it only lasted 2 days. Very different. It was not like before, where it lasted, I don't know how many months and caused a whole bunch of hedge funds to get in trouble. This time around, we had a short squeeze for sure. And of course, people in crypto started FOMOing into the meme coins, GME and AMC and so forth. But once the stock started selling off, so did the meme coin. So unfortunately, Roaring Kitty, I mean, I looked at his count today, even. It's just nothing but memes. He's not really saying anything. He's not really leading anything this way. In this time, he's just posting memes and people are interpreting how they interpret. But unfortunately, not so much in crypto. I love to see him in crypto. If he started, he's probably one of the most followed men on X. If he started talking about leading some kind of revolution or moving to crypto because he's fed up with the banks or hedge funds or whatever, he could be one of the most prominent figures in crypto. But until then, I think very little.
Maybe, though, this is just the start, and maybe he brings retail back. Like, retail really followed him the first time. If he does something this time and he has sound reasoning, it could be that turning point. Or what do you think could bring retail back to crypto?
We just need to see more money flow in. That's the problem right now. I mean, Bitcoin, I hate to say it, is led by the institutions this time. Okay. The reason why we're moving faster than previous cycles, the reason why our dips have been so small compared to previous cycles, the maturity that a lot of people talk about is kind of here and led by the institutions. Unfortunately, it should be led by the people, retail, but it's led by institutions. So I have this weird theory. I don't know if it's weird, but previous cycles, we saw retail lead Bitcoin. And then when Bitcoin tops out, guess what happens? The money flows into alts, and that's when we have true altcoin season. This time around, retail isn't leading Bitcoin. So I feel like retail, they're kind of stuck right now in a weird spot. So I think that's the reason why memes have done so well, because some of the retail players came in and like, I don't know if I want to put money into Ethereum or Solana or Cardano. You know what? I want to put my money into memes. And that's why I think this cycle, we've seen so many memes blow up to over $1 billion and many of them hundreds of millions. And we haven't seen this kind of meme season ever before. In 2021, we saw maybe a little bit with Doge and SHIB and maybe a little Floki, but that was at the very end of the cycle, and certainly not at the beginning. And we're seeing that now already so early. So I think, my take is I think retail is leading a meme revolution, and it could get to a point where memes become so big, then the retail players sell out of the memes and buy the other alts. So I think this cycle could be a little bit different in terms of how retail leads, I guess. So that's kind of my take.
I like SHIB. I just want to find the next SHIB. I like GameStop GME. I want to find the next GME. You're a meme coin connoisseur. At least you
Well, I don't know about that.
you keep tabs on them. I know you keep tabs on them.
Yes.
What do you think the next SHIB of this cycle could be?
You know what? Probably if I had to pick one right now, it would probably be Pepe. And it's weird because Pepe is on ETH. It's not on Solana. It's not on Base. The two most popular chains for memes is Solana and Base, and Pepe is on neither. And the other thing is Pepe is not on Coinbase yet either. So that's the thing too. So Pepe is really surprising me because they led, obviously, they were one of the ones that hit $1 billion back in 2023 and in kind of a bad environment too. So that was quite amazing. But then they went through some FUD because some of the founders left and supposedly took some Pepe with them. And there was some FUD around, their security and multi-sig keys and how that was changed and so forth. And then we had something new like Bonk. And then after that, we had something new like Whiff. And we had others come out since then that have blown up, Book a Meme and I don't know, Brett and others. But Pepe somehow got the momentum back, and they are the third largest meme. So if I had to pick one that mimics SHIB's movement in 2021, it probably is Pepe. Now, the other one that's very hot as well is Whiff. So Whiff, I think, will be a powerhouse this cycle too. And Bonk too. Bonk is going to be a powerhouse. I mean, these are like the new giants, the what do you call it? The staple, no, like the blue chips of the new memes. But there are so many other smaller ones that are popping out every single day. I'll give you an example of something fun. There's one called Costco hot dog. I saw that when it was under $1 million. I'm like, who doesn't like a Costco hot dog? Everyone that saw it just had a laugh, like a grin, like you did. And they blew up to over 100 million. And now I think they're around 50 million, but still no marketing at all, just a fun meme. And people love it. And that's the power of meme coins.
I love that. It's simple yet effective.
Yeah.
George, a couple more questions, then I'll let you go. The stock market is doing great, yet the economy, some would say for average people, small businesses, is not doing good. Inflation is higher, portions for food are smaller. Eventually, there will be a crash. Are you in the camp that after this upcoming American presidential election, a crash will happen?
That's a very tough one to answer. I think based on history, the answer should be yes, but here's the reason why it probably won't happen. Because after COVID, our government in the US has figured out that, hey, there's no consequence to just print money and keep printing and printing and printing. I don't know if you know this, there's no debt ceiling right now until sometime in 2025. And I don't know if it's the beginning or the end of 2025. Because we kept hitting our debt ceiling so fast, Congress just said, you know what, let's just remove the ceiling for now, because we may need to print more. And I think that's what's going to happen. A lot of small businesses are struggling. A lot of just people in general are struggling. They're not buying as much. We see in the economic data, inflation is still high, even though Powell and everyone else is saying, inflation is under control and we're going down. I mean, you could just see it. Like, you go out to eat at a restaurant, it's not cheaper than a year ago. Gas is now starting to come up. I filled up the other day, it's $120. I mean, services still expensive. So I think what's going to end up happening is, yes, this year will be propped up because of the presidential elections. But afterwards, if the economy starts really struggling, the money printer is going to start up and we may see more stimulus come our way, right? I think that's what may happen.
George, final question. AI, obviously a hot trend in crypto. Upcoming things to look forward to that have nothing to do with crypto, but altcoins pumped when Sora news came out earlier this year. There's ChatGPT next iteration coming up. NVIDIA earnings happening later this month, very soon. This is just for fun. If I gave you $1,000, you could only invest in AI altcoins. How would you allocate that?
With $1,000 right now, I would probably split it 3 ways. Okay. And these are 3 projects I think they're fairly safe, yet very ingrained into AI. First one would be Fetch AI, and they're going through some big merger with Singularity and Ocean, but I don't know the details. A lot of people don't know. But regardless, Fetch AI is deeply involved with the AI space. They are L1 using autonomous agents. But after this merger with Singularity and Ocean, they become a powerhouse. But they always tend to move with AI. Whenever we hear good news about AI, they go up. So I put 33% in Fetch AI. I put 33% into Render. They have established themselves. They have moved to Solana, and they're all about sharing GPU processing power to generate and compute models and data and whatever computations that is required. And they have this loose relationship with Apple. Does Apple hasn't come out and said, "Hey, we're using Render," but there's a loose relationship there with the software that the parent company created for Apple that also is the parent company of Render. So there's that relationship. But anyways, they're definitely involved. So 33% in Render, and lastly, 33% probably in L1 called Near. They have been blowing up within the last, I would say the last year, because of their bigger focus into AI. And they're doing something called Task, which allows basically groups data modeling, kind of like data marketplace for AI and AI data and projects and so forth. They're kind of like a mini Solana, very well backed, heavy funding, and they're growing by leaps and bounds right now. So I do anticipate with NVIDIA earnings that's coming up in a few days, I think NVIDIA is going to have a spectacular quarter. As always, they are unstoppable at this point. And with that, AI projects will bloom. And I think these three will do very well.
George, appreciate you taking the time, man. Links for all your stuff are down below. I encourage my audience, they probably do, but subscribe. Final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily Army.
Stay strong. You guys are in good hands. Aaron Austin, good guys, very knowledgeable. They know what they're talking about. And I think we're all in the same space to educate and to make people understand that Web3 and Bitcoin are the future. So continue watching and stay strong.